or did Canada reveal things to you that even as a financial expert, that caught you unaware?
So back home, you start buying your house at 40, 50, that's when you start buying a house. Over here at 40, that is when people finish paying up their mortgage. It was a shock to me being in the financial sector over here. You see someone at 2021 coming to discuss buying a house. They've saved enough for their down payment. They're ready to start the journey.
And the truth is that these guys, they have a head start ahead of us. A lot of us come here probably at age 30, 34, 35. By the time we come, we're playing catch up. And that's the truth.
Am I able to raise kids here in Canada who would be comfortable working at 14, something like that, knowing that I didn't have that opportunity? I came to Canada when I was 35 and I didn't have the opportunity. When I was 16 in Nigeria, I was more about playing football.
Trust me, the kids we're raising these days, especially those that we brought in here at very young age, they are aligning very fast with the culture here. Like I have a 13-year-old and she's ready to start working. Like yesterday we're talking and I was telling my youngest daughter that by 20 you should already save enough to be able to buy your own house. And she's like, yeah. It didn't come to her like a surprise, like house, because I'm already like telling them things I see in my workplace, young people. I'm already building it in their mind that you can do this.
Would you just like to tell us more about yourself and your experience and just your background as a financial expert, or what's the right terminology for that, so that we can just wet the ground?
All right, so I'm happy to be on this platform. I'm happy to be with the only lady among you guys. I'm not intimidated. So my name is Oshaiza and I'm commonly known as Saadatu. I have a YouTube channel, which is Saadatu's Daily. I'm sure maybe you have seen it or not. So I came into Canada in 2022 in September. And before coming, I was working in the financial sector. Not a banker per se, but we're a subsidiary of a bank. So currently here in Canada, I did other jobs before getting the banking job. So it was a journey, you know. Though before coming into Canada, I had an interview for the role of a banker here in Canada, but the last stage I couldn't get the role because it was like an urgent role to fill. I got up to the third stage, but I was interviewing somebody that was already here in the same town, was ready to resume that very week whenever they wanted the person. And I told them I had already bought my ticket, I've gotten a house, just for me to land and resume. But that was what took me out. So I was still watching the space, and a year after, I was able to still go back to the same branch for another role. So I'm still currently there as a financial advisor. And that's what's commonly known as back home, like a relationship manager, kind of.
Personal banker to an extent?
Yes, personal banker, of course. So though it's quite different because it's the banking back home and over here is kind of different, you know, but it's still very good. So my family life, I'm married, I have 3 kids. They are all school age, they go to school, and everything has been good so far. They love it here, we all love it here, and it's been great. Yeah.
Interesting. Thank you, Saadatu, for that wonderful introduction. Money is such an important thing. Anybody who thinks that money is not important is not being sincere. Most of the things we do and everything that we strive to achieve, any goal or ambition that anybody has, I believe, a certain degree of financial implication there. When you think about my 5-year goal, my 10-year goal, my 1-year goal, there has to be something that has to do with money. So money is very important. In fact, for those who are relocating as well, money indirectly plays a role in deciding to move from one country or from one country to another. You may say, oh, my current country is bad. I want better opportunities for my kids. I want a place where I have freedom. I want to be able to do this and do that. And now, to do all these things, we need money, we need
Yeah.
resources, we need finances. So that takes me to my opening question, which is how can, as an expert, as a professional, how do you advise a new immigrant or an immigrant generally, or a Nigerian immigrant in Canada, about how to manage their finances in such a way that they are able to say that they are financially free? So let me rephrase it. How can you support or advise an African or Nigerian immigrant who does a 9 to 5 or a 5 to 9, depending on whatever the case is, about how to be financially free as an employee? What are the things you need to do to be financially free in Canada?
That's that's a very big question and very, very important, because most people get to know these when they've spent like 5 years, 6 years after landing. That's when they now start planning. So it's very important coming to a new place. We all say it's like we all come starting from scratch, starting from ground zero. No matter what you built back home, you're starting from afresh. And the painful thing is that most of us come in at old age. Not old per se, but we've advanced in age. Like someone coming in at 40, 50, if you are still back home, you would have made a lot of planning for yourself, either retirement and all that. But coming back, most times, all those planning we did, all those funds we accumulated is what helped us to be able to transition to this place. So coming here, you now have to start building that wealth again. And most of us come in to start to do a 9 to 5. So what we usually advise customers, advise people, is to know, like, you're coming in as an immigrant, what are you coming in with? Apart from the proof of funds, of course, which is for you to settle down. What asset are you bringing in, so that we advise you on how to invest it, to grow it? Because most people sell their houses, sell their businesses, come with a lot of money. So such class of people per se are not starting from ground zero. They have something in savings. But majority of people do not have that. They've spent everything to come in. So they have to start building that wealth from afresh. So those kind of people will advise them, okay, you've gotten a 9 to 5, you're being paid bi-weekly. How much can you be saving every bi-weekly from every paycheck? How much can you bring up? So it's very hard for immigrants, from my experience. It's very, very hard to convince an immigrant to start saving from their first paycheck, because most times it's not even enough to pay the bills, to pay this, to pay that, and you're telling me to save. Most response you get from them is, I'm trying to settle down. I'm trying to settle down. 2 years, 3 years into the country, you are still trying to settle down. That is, if you don't start planning now, it's going to be very hard to start later. Because if you start a year before, you would have accumulated a lot, even, So we tell them to start saving something, no matter how small. As small as $25, $50, $100 every bi-weekly. Save it, open an account for you, and start investing it. That is usually the plan. Those people that come with assets, with wealth, we depending on what their goals are, because we have people that have long-term goals, short-term goals. If your long-term goal is to buy a house, we advise you, in this city, this is the amount you can use to pay for a mortgage. This is what you'll be needing to save if you want to buy in the next 3 years, the next 2 years. We advise you on that, and then we start planning. We use different tools to explain all that to you, and then you start saving. If you come with an asset, we advise you on how to invest it, how to grow it, and all that.
Okay, so I'm sure Emeka must have questions, but I have a follow-up question. So, I would like I'm trying to get a bit more context. You are a professional already, so you did not come to this new country without financial intelligence. You knew exactly how money works. You knew exactly how to send money on an errand so that money can work for you, as they say, those who read financial books. Now, Looking back, I know you spent about 3 years, I believe, in Canada, thereabouts. Is there anything, did Canada open up, or did Canada reveal things to you that even as a financial expert, that caught you unawares and said, "Oh wow, I thought I had this figured out, but in terms of finances and everything, this is the reality, very different from what I had in mind, my own expectations." Was
Mhm.
that you? Was that something that you can say related to you?
Exactly. A lot of, we call it shocks, cultural shocks, financial shocks. In every way, you see different shocks. No matter how long you stayed, you keep discovering things. For me, in the financial aspect, what I saw as different or as shocks is the way the saving cultures here for people, majority of the people here, citizens, how they save from their first job. We see them start working from 15 years old, and from their first job, they have a saving culture. Where most times an immigrant or back home, you start buying your house at 40, 50, that's when you start buying a house. Over here at 40, that is when people finish paying up their mortgage. Majority for those that have, we still have some set of people that don't have that kind of saving culture, but it was a shock to me being in the financial sector over here, seeing the way they save and the way at an early age they've achieved so much. I use mortgage mostly because that is still something that shocks me. Like we bought our house last year, 2 years after coming into Canada. And I'm currently 40. My husband, of course, is older than me. And I noticed that people at my age that have been here all along are paying up their mortgages at the same age that I'm here. And when I get into conversations with them, how are you able to do it and all that, you see them talking about, oh, I started saving from when I was 14, 15 for my first job. Even each job that they have a retirement plan for them, no matter how long they stayed in that job, or no matter how short they stayed, they accumulated something like retirement savings for them. Just like how something we have back home, the CPP contributory pension scheme, where you contribute and your employer contributes for you too. Similarly here. So all those things, they use it to pile up wealth, savings and all that. So they're able to begin making financial decisions at very early ages. You see someone at 20, 21 coming to discuss buying a house, they've saved enough for their down payment, they're ready to start the journey. So it's kind of like a shock to me. It's one of the major shocks I have.
Thank you so much. Emeka has a question, then Busui afterwards. Please go ahead, Emeka.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you, Sadatu. Everything you said just makes sense. It resonates with me. It's the thing. I do a lot of advocacy on finance with teenagers. And it was shocking to me in 2024 when I read a news article from the province of Alberta, which said that, oh, they will start to inculcate budgeting and investing and savings into school curriculum. And I was like, wow, okay. Is this not something that is being taught here? When I talk with these kids, you can see that they want to know these things, but maybe nobody is trying to teach it to them. I'm actually working on a book which will teach kids finance, and I want to see people say things like, when I get to 18, I'll have a house or I'll be able to invest. And not when I get to 18, I should be able to go to a bar, or my dad or my mom wouldn't be able to tell me what to do anymore. Things like that. We need to move away from that mindset. But in all my readings, and this is just me trying to play devil's advocate so that we can drill more into your area of expertise, I feel that the Canadian financial environment is like a never-ending trap, where you find that there's a lot of cases where this has happened. You look at somebody, you look at their finances, and you can tell that this person is struggling financially, but you extend a line of credit to them for $10,000. When you're doing this, you know that the possibility of this money getting frittered away is high, but the banks will still advance it. Is it that the bank is so interested in profit that they don't care what people do with the money they give them. Or let's say a car loan, someone comes in knowing that you look at their finances, they may not be able to pay off this car loan. Is there something that makes the banks or these financial institutions give out this loan in the hope that this person will default so they can repo those items? Does this happen? Thank you.
Well, yeah. So we have cases where people have loans, lines of credit, and then they cannot pay. But trust me, at the point of going to apply for that facility, like loan or line of credit, they qualify for it, depending on that financial institution. Like a conventional bank, you come in, you want to apply for a line of credit. We look at first your income. We look at your credit history, your credit score. At that point of applying for it, and we give it to you. Along the line, you lose your job or you stop going there, you're no longer doing full hours, full shifts, you're no longer getting enough money, or you start defaulting in your payments, missing payments and all that, it brings down your credits. What happens most times is the financial institution increases your interest rate because you're already becoming a high-risk student. So if, for example, you are given the line of credit at maybe 10%, when everything was good, then eventually you start defaulting, you become high risk, it becomes like 15%, 16%, making it harder for you to even pay up because most times you're now paying the interest. The principal is still there, but you're paying interest. So it now looks like this person has been on this line of credit for a long time. And then at the end of the day, when it comes to maybe like a car loan or so, eventually you lose it because you cannot pay anymore. We repossess it. So the institution is trying to kind of safeguard themselves by increasing your risks and increasing the interest rates that you're paying so that we can get enough from you before you finally go into collections. You understand? But we have some institutions that even when you have a bad credit, they still give you that facility. The one a conventional bank is not able to give to you. They give to you. We don't want to mention names here, but they give it to you at a very, very high rate. And at that point, you're looking for it. You don't care. The customer does not care the interest rate that they're giving. You'll be paying something a bank can give you at maybe 10%. Those institutions can give you at 29%. But because you need it urgently, you're going to just take it. So tell me how you're going to end up paying. At the end of the day, you're going to default and then they reclaim all those properties.
So you have
I had a point I wanted to make according to what Sadatu said earlier. And the point is based on the landscape of the financial industry here and how it is, especially for we immigrants over here. And the truth is that when I came in over here, you know, one time when we were talking in our earlier sessions, when I mentioned that sometimes Canadians are not as should I say are not as so ambitious like Americans to an extent, and to an extent there's also a reason and some things play a part in it. And one of the things that I wanted to mention was that when I spoke to, like, for example, when I started working one of my first jobs, then one of my bosses, he was in his early 40s, probably like 42, 43, and he had paid off like 2 mortgages, you know, and he was on one. And this was the guy when I was speaking to, and I kind of understood his history. And the truth is that these guys, they have a head start ahead of us. A lot of us come here probably at age 30, 34, 35, and all those ages and everything. And we are trying to, by the time we come, we're playing catch up. And that's the truth. Because when the guy told me his story, he told me that, look, at age 16, he started working. And he said he was working at a local coffee shop. It's quite popular in Canada, called Tim Hortons. He was working there throughout, you know, and he even became like a supervisor. So it was that job he was doing while he went into the university. So he was doing that at the same time in the university. It was from that job he was able to buy his first car. He even showed me the picture of the car. At 18, he bought his first car himself with his money. So you can imagine now doing that kind of a job from age 16, the leverage that's giving you and everything. So when he finished university at, is it 21 or whatever it is, and he got his first job. He said his first mortgage was that same year at age 21, first mortgage. So you can imagine, and definitely inflation wasn't this bad then, and things were cheaper then. So he was able to, start paying up and start paying down on a lot of on the mortgage and everything to work. But he was even able to get the second one, and he's paid up, and he's like 42 now. So they have a head start ahead of us. So you imagine a 21-year-old already in Nigeria starting, you get your mortgage. Do you know what that gives you before you get to 30? 30 is 9 years time, 40 is 19 years time. You got your first car at the age of 18. So all those head starts that they have ahead of us, it gives them all. I know that if someone is listening to this from Nigeria, you might not be able to relate. You're wondering like how someone at 21, but that's how it is over here. The way it is set up over here is that at retirement, it is expected that you don't have those obligations of mortgage and all those kind of very, very big obligations, And at that point in time, you're just whatever you're getting at retirement, then it's just to sustain you at that point in time. But a lot of us immigrants that are coming here, unfortunately, especially with first generation, that's not going to be the case for us. So we have to do extra and extra and extra planning, because you will find that even at if you get here probably at age 34, and you probably get your first mortgage at probably 36, 37, you will find out that it might take you maybe 20 years to clear that. You might be that's till like age 57. How are you so sure you're going to be working till then? Your health, in terms of health, will your health be able to sustain you at that age? And are you sure that you're going to be able to have to, get a very top, still remain in the job that will be able to sustain you to ensure that you finish paying for your mortgage and everything? And so, even apart from that, again, from someone who is age 40 already, and he's still working probably to age 60, he has finished paying his mortgage. He has 20 years to adequately plan for his retirement and and structure things. But you're just finished paying for your mortgage at age 58, maybe to 60, your retirement is here already. What do you have in place again to now start putting in place to plan again for retirement? So those are some of the things that I think that we immigrants need to consider. We need to be able to talk to people like you to help, to guide us and provide what structures that can be put in place to ensure that is done.
Well, I'm so sorry to come in. I know Emeka has something to say. You make a very, very valid point, and that is, but I have a question to follow up on your statement, and I would direct first to Emeka, who I think he has something to say.
Okay, yeah, I have a question. Everything we're saying, you can see that there's a central theme that is jumping out: immigrants and finances. So I want to ask, what is the correlation between financial success as an immigrant and a culture? Is there any racial impact that makes it important that one succeeds financially? Like me, I'm a Nigerian, I'm Black. Is there anything that predisposes me from that perspective for financial success? Is there anything culturally that would make my financial success a hindrance? Something like that. I don't know if I'm phrasing the question correctly, but am I able to raise kids here in Canada who would be comfortable working at 14? Something like that, knowing that I didn't have that opportunity. I came to Canada when I was 35, and I didn't have the opportunity. When I was 16 in Nigeria, I was more about playing football and not thinking about it. So how, I don't know if my question makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Trust me. The kids we're raising these days, especially those that we brought in here at very young age, they are aligning very fast with the culture here. Like I have a 13-year-old and she's ready to start working. She's ready to start working. We have people here that their kids are 14 and they've started working already. And it's not because the parents are pushing them to work. They want to work because The way the culture is here is the kids have a lot of independence. They have that thing in them. Like, it's kind of like maybe the way this is society, because it makes them feel you want to do this, you have to work for it. You want to do this, you have to save for it. And I have started working on it with my kids. Like I just told you guys today, my daughter is going for a birthday party and she's telling me we need to buy a gift for her friend. So that gift money is going to come from the money you've been saving, because you cannot just come like that and tell me to buy a gift for your friend. If you want to spend, then you need to bring it from something you've kept. You have to work for it. So they already have that culture. Like whenever she comes and says she wants to buy this, she wants to buy that, she wants to buy this, I'm like, okay, yeah, I have time by 5 p.m. Do you have the money? And she'll be like, no, I don't have the money. You have to save. If you want to be spending money, you need to know where you're going to be getting it from. That is why she's anxious to start working. And we've already put it in her, like, okay, if you have high taste, you have a very nice taste. I have 2 girls, but one, her taste, I don't ever understand. So I'm already putting it in her that, yeah, it's good to have a very lifestyle. You like nice things, so you need to work for it. So she already has it in mind, like, if I want to do this, I have to do this. I'm not going to get it from mommy. I'm not going to get it from daddy. I need to work for majority of you. And I'm already putting it in their head. Like yesterday, we're talking, and I was telling my youngest daughter that by 20, you should already save enough to be able to buy your own house. And she's like, yeah. It didn't come to her like a surprise, like, house, because I'm already like telling them things I see in my workplace, young people. I'm already building it in their mind that you can do this. We have a Nigerian family, just my neighbor here. They've been here for like 5 years, 4, 5 years. They had a 17-year-old child that bought his own car at 17. He was working for maybe 15, 16, and all his paychecks were just going into his checking account. He was not spending anything. He was able to save to buy his car, even though it's not a big car or something, but the boy knows he bought that car with his own money. He drives around, we'll drive around each other, we'll pass each other on the road, he'll wave, good morning, ma. That is something I really love it. You understand? They put it in his mind that you want to start driving, your friends have car. Yeah, you can do it, why not? And he has his car now. He's in the university now, he has a car, he's away from his parents. So that mindset, tell me now, if you check that guy's account, because they've already put that saving culture in him, if you check his account, definitely he has money there. He's saving for his next goal. He's saving for something else. So I don't see it as a racial something. Back home, as you said, at that age is how you'll be playing football, going from here to there. You don't, even if you're working, a young child in Nigeria at that age is not working. You ask somebody that, what are you doing? I say, I'm in school. You're in school doesn't mean you cannot work. The students here in university have part-time jobs they're doing. They're saving, they have a job, they're saving because they're paying rent, they're paying for their phone bills, they're doing this, they're doing that. Even if they're still living with their parents, they pay rent to their parents. When you get to a certain age here, most parents, maybe 18, and you're still living at home. If the mortgage is 2,000, you're going to be bringing 400. You understand? They already put that in the mind of the child. So you have to work. They come in, they say they want to apply for a credit card. I ask you, okay, what are your expenses monthly? They tell you, I pay 400 to my mom as rent, I pay for my phone bill, and already, you see, at that age, they already have that in mind that I have to spend, I have to save. You understand? So I think it's just environment, and we can inculcate it back home. For people watching back home, we can. No matter how young the child is, that the child is 14, 15, 16, even 18, doesn't mean they cannot work. They can. It's just that the type of work back home, like you cannot imagine a university student back home doing part-time job in a restaurant. Like she'll be like, no, I'm a student, I'm in university. But back here, this is what they do. You know, so I think that's just the difference. But trust me, when they come here, they align. All the Nigerian students in the university, they have part-time jobs they are doing, but they can't do it back home because of the environment, the culture. So I think that's just what's happening here.
And to add to that, I don't even know, you brought very, very interesting insights. I don't even think our Nigerian economy is that robust enough to have the kind of jobs that are available for young people,
Mm-hmm.
especially in 2025 and in the last 10, 15, 20 years. Because what you're talking about, student working and everything, our parents talked about those things. Oh, when they were younger, or our grandparents, that they had this kind of jobs, they go to school and then work holiday jobs before they resume in school. And
Yeah.
so I don't think right now, I'm sure people can correct me, but I don't think the Nigerian economy is robust enough. In fact, people who are qualified and need jobs, the jobs are not even there. So you will find out in North America also, there are jobs that citizens don't want. You know, they leave them for the immigrants, from people in Mexico. They say, oh, people, they are too big for those kind of jobs. Yeah, the jobs are not even enough for the people. And you know, you all have talked about the importance of inculcating um, financial intelligence and discipline into young children. And Emeka also has a podcast where he teaches teens about how to be financially intelligent, young kids, how to save, how to invest, and all that. And that is great. So it means that your kids are in a better position. I think it's safe to say that your kids right now in Canada are in a better financial position than you were when you were their age. You know, so it has happened. We are in our 30s and 40s, and some people 50s, and so how can we how can we make do with what we have? How can Nigerians in Canada make do with what they have right now, so that they have financial freedom, financial intelligence? How can they turn their lemons and make lemonade out of them? That is really the crux of my question and what I said earlier. I don't know if you have any insights into, but coming to Canada at a very more advanced age.